All right, let's dive into this.
That's good.
I'm always fascinated by
Hmm.
money and like where it came from.
Right.
So this deep dive is going to be perfect for me.
I think so, yeah.
We're looking at A History of Money by Glenn Davies,
Yep.
really trying to get down to like
Mm.
how money started
Right, from the beginning.
from the beginning.
Yeah, and how it got to be what it is today.
Exactly, like
Yeah.
from just like trading stuff
Yeah.
to
Bartering.
bartering to like
These complex systems.
the crazy complex systems we have now.
Yeah, it's a wild ride.
It is, and
Yeah.
I'm already hooked because we're going to be talking about yap stones.
Oh, yeah, those are fascinating.
Giant stone discs as money.
Crazy. I can't wait to hear more about that.
That's a great story.
So, okay, so when we think about, like, the very beginning,
Right.
we always hear about bartering.
Yeah, the classic image.
Right, like trading a chicken for
A bushel of weed or something.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, was it really that clunky?
Well, Davies actually says
Right.
it wasn't as bad as we think.
Really?
Yeah, for small communities where everyone knew each other,
Okay.
it worked pretty well.
Interesting.
Yeah, they knew what everyone had, what they needed,
Right.
so direct exchange made sense.
Makes sense.
But here's the thing.
Right.
A lot of those early forms of money,
Okay.
what Davies calls primitive money,
Okay.
they didn't actually come about because of
What?
economic reasons.
Really?
Yeah.
Then what? Like, why?
Social customs, rituals, things like that.
No way.
It's true. Think of like bride money,
Okay.
blood money, or even ceremonial objects.
Okay, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so those yap stones we talked about.
Perfect example.
Okay.
Those huge stone discs,
Yeah.
they got their value, their size,
Oh.
their history, and even the danger it took to bring them from that faraway island.
Wow.
It was like a currency built on shared stories and risk.
That's
I
incredible.
guess.
You couldn't exactly like.
Stuff it in your wallet.
No, you can't just like pull out your yap stone.
Exactly, and that's kind of the point.
What do you mean?
These early forms of money,
Okay.
they were hard to move around.
Okay.
You couldn't split them up easily.
Yeah, I see.
Not great for trading over long distances.
Okay, so then how do we get to something more practical?
Well, Davies says we got to look to the Lydians. In the 7th century BC,
Okay.
they really changed the game.
So-
They invented coinage.
Whoa.
Yeah, King Croesus and the Lydians,
Mhm.
they were running into those same problems with bartering
Yeah.
and primitive money. They
Yeah.
needed something
Yeah.
standardized, portable, and you could divide it up.
Okay.
So boom, they made coins.
Wow.
A bimetallic system,
What's that?
gold and silver coins, different values.
Oh, I see.
This was revolutionary.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It changed trade forever,
Wow.
made all sorts of new economic activity possible.
So they weren't just making transactions easier. Nope. This was about power too, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
How so?
Governments could collect taxes more efficiently. Makes
Yep.
sense, pay armies and kind of project their power further.
Right, because now they had a way
Exactly.
to manage all that.
Yeah, money in this new standardized form.
Okay.
It got tied up with empires and trade networks.
It's like suddenly money is like
a tool of power.
more than just like exchanging stuff.
Exactly.
So speaking of empires,
Yeah.
what about the Greeks and Romans?
Ah, the classic.
What do their money systems look like?
Well, in Greece, silver was king.
Okay.
They relied heavily on slave labor in mines like Lorien
Oh, wow.
that fueled their economy. But yeah, not a great part of the story.
It's kind of a dark side
Yeah, for sure.
to how they built their wealth.
Yeah, it makes you think about the ethics of it all.
Definitely. So
Yeah.
did they have anything like banks back then?
Believe it or not, they did.
Right.
Private bankers popped up, offering loans, deposits,
Uh.
even money transfers.
That's incredible.
Smaller scale, obviously.
Yeah.
But doing a lot of the same stuff banks do today.
So the roots of modern finance go way back.
Way back, yeah.
What about the Romans? What they bring to the table?
Well, they built on what the Greeks did.
What
They developed coinage even further,
Yeah.
and they gave us some terms we still use.
Really?
Yeah, like libra.
Okay.
Their unit of weight
Okay.
became the basis for the British pound and others,
Wow.
and their denarius.
Mhm.
That turned into our penny, or D.
Wow. I never knew that.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. It's like
Yeah.
those echoes of ancient Rome were still right here in our wallets.
In a way, yeah.
That's so cool, but
Yeah.
the story doesn't end there, right?
Oh, no, not at all.
What happens next?
Next, we're heading east to China.
China.
Yeah, that's where we see something truly revolutionary.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What is it?
Paper money.
Whoa, really? That's crazy. I thought that was a modern thing.
You'd be surprised.
Well, now I got to know more.
Oh, we've got a whole lot more to uncover.
All right, let's get to it then.
Sounds good.
Because this story of how money shaped our world is just getting started.
It really is. All right, so we left off talking about ancient Rome.
Yeah, those coins, the libra, denarius.
Right. Their legacy, in our words, for money.
It's wild.
I like
But there's more.
Oh, I know there's more. You teased it.
Yeah, we're moving on to China.
Okay, China. What's happening over there?
This is where we see the start of paper money.
Wait, really? Paper money? Back then?
Yep, around the 11th century.
That's way earlier than I would have guessed.
It's pretty amazing, right?
It is. Like, what made them think of that?
Well, they needed something new.
Okay.
They had a copper shortage.
Ah, copper for their coins.
Exactly, and their economy was growing.
Right.
So lugging around all those coins got to be a pain.
I can imagine.
Paper was lighter, easier to make, you know?
So it was just practical? Yeah, but it was more than that.
Okay, how so?
Think about it. Merchants move in huge amounts of money.
Yeah,
Paper money would have been a lifesaver.
I guess so, but what did it look like?
Not like our bills today.
What then?
More like promissory notes or
Right.
certificates from merchants' institutions.
So like IOUs.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, but did they actually work
They did. It was all about trust.
in the issuer?
Exactly. Their reputation backed the note.
Interesting. So did the government ever get involved?
Eventually, yeah.
How'd that happen?
Paper money got popular, proved itself,
Okay.
so the government saw an opportunity.
To control it.
Well, yeah, and to use it for their needs when they were short on copper or during tough times.
Right, because government's always
To
like,
control the money, yeah.
so they started making their own paper money.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing it wasn't all smooth sailing.
You're right. There were some bumps.
Like what?
Well, sometimes they printed way too much.
Oh no, inflation.
Yep, big time.
Prices went up.
Skyrocketed.
Yeah.
The paper money lost value.
People probably weren't too happy.
No, they weren't. It messed up the whole system.
So even with something new like paper money,
Yeah.
you still got to be careful.
Absolutely. Control is key.
Can't just print your way out of problems.
Nope, that never ends well.
So what's going on in Europe while all this is happening?
They were sticking with coins.
Really? No paper money experiments.
Not yet, but England especially was about to change.
Oh, really? How so?
Their system with pennies and the pound sterling,
Yeah.
it was going to get a major upgrade.
All right, I'm ready to hear about that. All right, so we left off with China and their paper money adventures.
And Europe, specifically England, holding onto their coins.
Right, but you hinted that England was about to undergo a major financial shift.
They did. It's a fascinating story of how they became a global financial powerhouse.
Okay, so I'm picturing London. You know those images?
Cobblestone streets, men in top hats.
Exactly. Were they already talking stocks and bonds back then?
Well, the top hats were there for sure.
Uh-huh.
But the real story is about the financial tools and institutions that emerged.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just about the look?
It's about the systems they created, the rise of banking, all during the Industrial Revolution.
Wow, so this is a big turning point.
It really is, and it all starts with expanding credit.
Okay, expanding credit, what does that mean?
It means more people and businesses had access to borrowed money.
Okay, and why was that happening?
A few reasons. Trade was booming, industry was growing.
So the economy was on fire.
Basically, yeah. And there was more capital available.
Okay, so more money floating around.
Right. And that created a need for new ways to manage it.
Makes sense. The old ways probably couldn't handle it.
Exactly. So new financial instruments popped up, like bills of exchange.
Bills of exchange, what are those?
They made it easier to do business across borders, even over long distances.
So it's like they needed better ways to handle payments.
Right. And that's where banks came in.
Ah, banks. So this is when they really started to take off.
Well, not banks as we know them today, more like Goldsmith bankers.
Goldsmith bankers. Okay, so not your typical bank teller.
Not quite, but they were doing a lot of the same things.
Like what?
Accepting deposits, making loans, handling payments.
So they were like the middlemen between people with money and people who needed it.
Exactly. They were essential for connecting borrowers and lenders.
It's starting to sound more and more like our modern banking system.
It is, and there's another big shift happening around this time.
Okay, what is it?
The move from royal debt to national debt.
Oh, that sounds significant. What does that mean?
Before, the king would borrow money personally.
Right?
Now the government, with Parliament's backing, started issuing debt.
So it's like a shift from a small business to a corporation.
That's a good way to put it. The responsibility for debt broadened.
And this led to the Bank of England, right?
That's right, established in 1694.
So what was their role?
At first, they managed government debt and lent to the crown.
Okay, but they didn't stay in that lane for long.
Nope, they quickly evolved into the central bank.
Ah, so this is a big deal.
Huge. They stabilized the currency, regulated the financial system.
And helped London become a financial hub.
Exactly. They laid the groundwork for global dominance.
This is fascinating. So now we've got the Industrial Revolution in full swing.
And with it, the ascendancy of sterling.
Okay, so the British pound is becoming a global force.
That's right. It was the preferred currency for international trade.
What made it so powerful?
A few things. Britain's industrial might, their empire,
So they had the economic clout?
and crucially, the strength of their financial institutions.
Okay, so they had a solid foundation.
London's money markets were top-notch. Everyone trusted the pound.
It's like having a good credit score. People are willing to lend to you.
Exactly. And it wasn't just the big institutions. Country banking was booming too.
Country banking, what's that?
Banks like the Wilkinsons, Lloyds, Barclays, they fueled growth outside of London.
Wow, so those familiar names were already around back then.
They were providing loans to businesses, facilitating payments, keeping things moving.
So it wasn't just a London story. It was happening all over England.
Right. But there were still some debates about how to manage it all.
What kind of debates?
One big one was about controlling the money supply, the role of the Bank of England.
Okay, so different ideas about how to steer the ship.
There was the currency school. They wanted a strict link between notes and gold.
Okay, so they were the gold standard folks.
Essentially, yeah, they wanted a stable currency tied to physical gold.
And what about the other side?
The banking school, they wanted more flexibility.
So less tied to gold.
Right. They thought the amount of money should respond to the economy's needs.
It's like the classic tension between stability and growth.
Exactly. And in the end, the currency school won out.
With the Bank Charter Act of 1844.
That's right. It put stricter limits on note issuance, reinforced the gold standard.
So a big win for the gold bugs.
You could say that, and it shaped British monetary policy for a long time.
But it wasn't all about big banks and gold.
No, there were also new institutions for the working class.
Like,
Building societies, savings banks, they helped regular people get ahead.
so access to finance was expanding.
Exactly. It wasn't just for the wealthy elite anymore.
That's a good thing. But England was also a global player,
Right. Their overseas investments were huge.
and that affected their own economy.
Absolutely. Those investments helped finance global trade,
Okay.
but they also created demand for British goods and services.
So it was a win-win. They invested abroad and boosted their own economy.
Exactly. It was a virtuous cycle, but there were still vulnerabilities.
Like what?
Well, the Bank of England had surprisingly small gold reserves.
Really? Why?
Because the pound was so strong, they didn't need as much gold to back it up.
It's like having a great reputation. You don't need a huge safety net.
Exactly. But the 20th century was about to test that reputation.
Oh no, what happened?
World Wars, the Great Depression, the gold standard collapsed.
Wow, talk about a rough century.
It was. British monetary policy had to adapt or die.
So what did they do?
First, the World Wars, financing those was incredibly expensive.
How'd they manage?
War bonds, income taxes, new taxes on businesses.
So everyone had to chip in.
It was a national effort, but it led to huge debts and a bigger role for government.
Okay, so that's the wars. What about the gold standard?
They tried to go back to it in 1925.
After the First World War.
Right. But the exchange rate they chose overvalued the pound.
What does that mean?
British exports became too expensive. It hurt their economy.
So sticking to gold backfired.
It did, and then came the Great Depression.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
It was a global crisis, and it exposed the flaws in the gold standard.
So they had to abandon it.
They did. In 1931, Britain had to find new ways to manage their money.
Like what?
Keynesian economics, government intervention to stimulate the economy.
So a totally new approach.
It was a radical shift, but necessary to survive the Depression.
Wow, what a journey. From bartering to gold to government spending.
It shows you how much monetary policy has to adapt.
It makes you wonder what's next, right? Like with digital currencies and all that.
It's a fascinating question. What will the future of money look like?
Yeah. What lessons can we learn from the past? What new challenges await?
I guess we'll have to wait and see, but one thing's for sure.
What's that?
The story of money is far from over.
That's a great point, and it's a story that affects us all.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, from ancient coins to modern crises.
But it's been an incredible journey, and hopefully you've learned a thing or two.
I know I have. It's amazing to see how money has shaped our world.
And how it continues to evolve. Who knows what the next chapter holds?
That's the exciting part. We get to be a part of writing it.
That's right. So keep exploring, keep learning, and stay curious about the world of money.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks again for joining us.